my door was knocked on, so I had to go, and it was a very nice young man at my door. So, like I said, most people are afraid to be themselves. Your ego only shows up when you are in and around lower vibrations. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lucy Davis, and I am coming to you from an unknown destination right now. I'm actually mid-travel onto a destination where I'm going to do some very, very, very profound energy work. Super excited for it. But I decided to jump on and do a Lucy Davis live video today for the first time in a heck of a long time. So it's good to be back with you guys. Like, genuinely it is. I've missed you. And although I've been putting content out, I know it hasn't been regular. I know it hasn't been consistent. So I am going to up my game, I promise. I'm just asking for a few more weeks until I get back to Europe to offer this consistency. And I've got something very, very special that will be coming to you on this channel, all being well, hopefully through November and going forward. So do keep watching, because you will not want to miss that, not for anything. So as you guys know, I travel the world resetting energies, as well as doing, helping people step into their power, remember their purpose, remember their passions, get connected to themselves so that they can have the most powerful, beautiful relationships. And, I've had a really, really wild time over the last 3 months. I knew I was going to be away for a couple of months, but I genuinely believed I would only ever be in Australia for 1 week. So I don't know where the memo got lost along the way, but I've actually ended up being in Australia for 3 months. And yeah, it's always a sad time for me to be leaving that country. It is such a special place in my heart. I feel at home. I have so much love for the people. I change my life massively whenever I'm in Australia, and this time has been no different, my friends, and more of that will be coming out soon. But today I wanted to speak to you guys about the ego. Now, I feel as if I've spoken about the ego so many times. I feel as if I've done so many videos on ego. However, I really, really did feel that this was important. Why? I'm just trying to get my notes because I did some channeling for this. Why do I feel it's important? Well, first and foremost, we have just got to the end of month number 1 in Self-Love Club. And this is very much about bringing the ego to the surface, recognizing who it is, what it is, the way that it works with us. And, there are a lot of people out there that like to make out that the ego is a really, really, really bad thing. And it can be, but it's also a part of us. So if we shun it, or if we give it the big ego death, actually we're killing off a big part of us, and a big part of us that has created us the way that we are. So, I view ego very differently to a lot of other people. But there are a lot of people out there right now that throw the word around as if it is just, just another one of those words, a bit like narcissism. Let's just call it, like, everybody's calling everybody a narcissist right now. And I actually channeled something on this a few weeks ago, and I'm just waiting for the right time to create a video, because I do think it's going to create a bit of a ruckus. But I want to share the perspective, because it was a gift. So, it's not mine to keep. So I will share that, I promise you, at some point. But my point is, ego is a word that people throw around left, right, and center. Now, a lot of people that haven't done any work on themselves look at ego as being egotistical. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is the ego that keeps you safe, the ego that says, don't fall in love again, because the last time you did that, you ended up getting hurt. The ego is the thing that says, don't tell that person that they've upset you. Like, let them figure it out for themselves. Like, if you've got to be vulnerable and let that person know that they've upset you, like, no way. That they should be a mind reader. Like, this is the way the ego works. So it's very important that we get aligned to this. And I'm going to go into a lot more details imminently. Now, as you guys know, as I said just a short time ago, I am making my, wow, I don't know if I did say it, but I'm making my way back to Europe. a very long way back to Europe. It's going to take me about 3 weeks, which is not normal, just so you know. I have got 3 countries to visit at the moment, and as you guys know, that's get shaken up at any given time. However, I am going to be back in Europe by the end of October, so I've given myself a month to get this done, so that if any new places call me, or I get called along the way, then I can go off and I can do it plenty of time. However, the reason I'm talking to you about this is we have got Soul School taking place as a retreat in Spain on the 15th of. Now, where did I get to? I apologise. My door was knocked on, so I had to go, and it was a very nice young man at my door. So I think before I went, this is happening a lot to me when I'm on the road. By the way, I don't know how it's happening, but it's happening. Very interesting dynamic what's going on right now. Anyway, I'll explain more about that at some other point. I believe before I just went off to answer the door, I was actually talking about Soul School in Spain, the Soul School retreat. And I'm very, very, very excited. I mean, people have been joking all around the world. She's not going to make it back in time. She's not going to be there. She's this, she's that. But I promise you, if there's one thing that I'm going to be doing, I am going to be back for Soul School Spain. Now, where I'm going to be before then or after then, I've got no idea, but I am definitely going to be there. And we are creating something extremely, extremely special for this retreat. The original vision of having it, what's the word I'm looking for? The original vision of what I was going to do in Spain has slightly changed, because I actually feel the benefits would be colossal for a little bit more of an intimate setting. So that's kind of where we are at the moment, and it is really exciting. I don't even know if there are any spaces left because of this change. However, my team will let you know. But if you do want to come along, please, please, please do secure your space ASAP. If obviously if there are some left, because you don't want to miss out on this. It is going to be literally living with me for a number of days. We're going to be really immersed in beautiful energies. I'm going to share some things that will never ever share publicly, because you're going to be in my intimate company, like you're going to be there, you're going to be with me, you're going to be hanging out with me. We are going to do some amazing healing. We are going to do some really beautiful connection work. Yes, there's going to be the elements of Soul School, but there's also going to be some added extras in there, which I am so super excited to bring to the party. My phone is buzzing left, right, and center, so I'm just going to turn it over so it doesn't distract me. Okay, my friends, let's get this show on the road. So, first and foremost, let me know how you feel when you hear the word ego. Most people are afraid to be themselves. I spoke about this on the call last night, my self-love club call, because this is what we've been doing. We've been looking at this for the last month, and there is so much delusion in that program. And I told them this last night, so they won't be offended by me saying this. But if these people have put their hands up and said, I'm going to come and do your program, and there's loads of delusion there, imagine what is going on in the world in and around them. We are all very delusional. We are all, especially at the moment, because we've got this real push of like spirituality, and then we've got this real division taking place. So there is a real ego around, people aren't allowed to use these words, or people can't be seen to do this, or why is that person wearing, like, it's all going on right now, and it is all by design. And unfortunately, a lot of people are getting involved in it. Like, for me personally, my best bit of advice to you: observe, but do not consume. If you are getting caught up in the noise, if you are getting caught up in, this divisional behavior, then I hate to say it, ladies and gents, but you are actually part of the problem. Like, let's just hold space for everybody to do whatever it is they need to do. And I've got to be honest, I'm seeing a massive turn of the tides. And actually, I channeled that this morning. I kept being told, I think I told Kevin, there's a turn of the tides, a turn of the tides, turn of the tides. Anyway, let's move on from that. So, like I said, most people are afraid to be themselves. We have basically been born into a world where we do not speak up when somebody hurts us immediately. We sit in it for weeks, sometimes years. We hold our tongue because we are in fear of being met with conflict or upset. It's not even that, though. You know, some people think you should know why they are pissed off because they think that it is so obvious. But the thing is we all have different reactions. We all have different standards. And something that might create a reaction in somebody else might not create a reaction in you. And this is why I say, ladies and gents, this is the ego playing it at its best. I am the kind of person, if somebody upsets me, I give them a few opportunities, but then I have to just say it the way that it is, because I feel that's the best way for me to be vulnerable. Now, if I'm met with somebody that's like, you have to guess where I'm at, you have to guess what's going on in my mind, like, I've got some cool gifts. I'm not even going to deny that, right? I really have some cool gifts. If you guys were on Self Love Club last night, it was so random. All of a sudden at the end, I just started channeling this man. You know, it's like, you never know what you're going to get with me, put it that way, right? So, yes, I acknowledge I've got the gifts, but I can't be telepathic for everybody. I can't be figuring it out. Like, I need to be told, Lucy, you've upset me because. Then it's down to me to make a decision. And if somebody says to me that I love and I care about, Lucy, you've upset me, did you not realize? I will be so humble at that point and be like, oh my God. If I don't agree with it, obviously I'll share that. But then obviously that runs the risk of me basically cutting somebody out of my life. And of course, this is the whole part of the journey. But this is ego. Just because you are willing to express how you're feeling does not mean that you're an ego. Just because you are willing to set standards and, you know, really empower your values and stand in your truth doesn't mean you're in ego. It means that you are so conscious of who you are. And that triggers other people's ego when they don't know who they are. Maybe they're trying to make a name for themselves. Maybe they're trying to stand out. And because you are meeting them with your standards and your honesty and that they avoid it, then maybe, just maybe, this is why the ego pipes up. So the ego can do many things, but I wanted to start by showing that when we hold our tongue, it's normally because we fear of someone leaving us. We fear being met with conflict. We fear being upset. So what we basically do over the course of our life is we hide the dark parts of ourselves to fit into the existence that our ancestors had to endure. So our ancestors, you know, they were burnt at the stake and they were all of these things, or maybe us in past lives, we were burnt at the stake. So we've got this belief now that if we speak up and if we're honest, people are going to leave us. People are going to hurt us. They're going to kill us, because this is the imprint that is in our cells. The ego confirms that everybody is completely confused. We develop an ego over the years of our existence. An ego, or our ego, is the way that I like to describe it to people is, although it's a part of me on the inside, it is abstract in the sense that it has an existence. However, that existence I like to explain to people is actually exterior to us, even though it's not, it's internal to us. But if we can train the brain to see that this is an additional piece of us, a piece of us that has been designed to keep us safe, a piece of us that's been designed to keep us comfortable, even though most of the time it keeps us very uncomfortable, because we know the ending. If we go down that route, we know what we're going to get. We treat this thing that we call the ego as very real. It's the armor that we've put on to protect ourselves from getting hurt again. It's the, I'm going to keep my mouth shut because I daren't be vulnerable and say, hey, you've hurt me. Because what if you leave me? What if you hurt me? What if you tell me that, you know, you don't resonate with the things that have hurt me? Our ego is our protection. It's our stories. It's the image of ourselves with our rose tinted glasses on. It's not ourself though, because the rose tinted glasses need to come off. This image that we have through the eyes of our ego, this tough exterior, this lack of vulnerability, this avoidant behavior, this commitment phobe, this anxiety when people step away from you. That's not you at your core. That's taught behavior. You at your core is love. It's peace, it's harmony. But when we have experienced hurt and pain and abandonment and all the other things, we create a persona that can cope with that. And that is the image of ourself, which we see through the eyes of the ego. And it's extremely inaccurate. Through this vision, we imagine that we are incomplete. All of us do. This is a caricature. This is a character that we have been playing. And it has been premised 100% off of what other people have told us that we can be. By our mother leaving us. By our father telling us to man up. We listen to those people. We hear what they say and we take it on. Now, obviously, the amount that we take on is dependent on who they are in our lives and how much we value them. But let's say it's your mother. Your mother is the first person that you know. Like, yes, you may hear your father's voice whilst you're in your mother's womb, but your mother has housed you for 9 months. Your mother has, you know, you've come out of your mother's womb. There is a connection between a mother and child. So let's say the mother really struggles when you're about 4 years of age, really struggles, maybe starts drinking or something like that and becomes a shadow of her former self. And you learn that when you cry, she's not going to come to you. And you learn that other things are a priority. And you're kind of like a bit of an afterthought. What you do is you become self-reliant. What you then do is you start avoiding emotions. You fear being vulnerable. Because everybody is now going to experience the life of this character that had to go through this experience. Every time we step into that character, this is the birth of the ego. And this is why it amuses me that so many people throw the word ego around like it's just, you know, like it's water. If somebody is being vulnerable with you, but maybe they've missed a memo, maybe they've missed something, that doesn't mean they're an ego. It means they're a human being and they missed a freaking memo. However, if you cannot be open and honest and vulnerable and communicate how you're feeling, this is your ego keeping you safe because you are avoiding the way that you are. You're avoiding the feelings that you've got going on in you. Because your parents left you or hurt you or whatever it is. And there's many different facets to this, okay? Some people avoid their emotions. Some people become really like clingy with their emotions, you know? There's very few people on the planet that are secure in their emotions. This is what we all strive to be. I'm going to do some really cool videos on this stuff going forwards, guys. We all strive to be secure enough to say, hey, excuse me, what did you mean by that? Hey, I love you. I need to let you know that I love you. And I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. Like, really being open with our feelings and our emotions. So, this birth of the ego starts when we are born because everybody around us says children should be seen and not heard. We get told that we should have a consistent image, that we must have an identity that everybody wants to be around. Everyone is searching for an acceptable image rather than connecting to who they really, truly are. Now, I want to be honest with you guys. Of course, it is important to be a good person. Of course. It doesn't take much to be kind. It doesn't take much to be loving. It doesn't take much to just consider other people's feelings. However, we are living a lie because we're so much more than our education. We're so much more than what the government tell us that we are. We're so much more than our upbringing, whatever that looks like, good, bad, ugly. Yet here we are living a persona. I have pissed off so many people over the years that I've been on this journey. So for the last 10 years, I have been on a massive healing journey to figure out who the heck Lucy Davis is. It was the question I asked myself back in 2014 when I burnt out. And I was like, who even are you? I looked myself in the mirror and I said, who even are you? Like, what is this about? And it was from then, very, very close to it being about now, by the way. It's probably like 10 years and a month or two, you know, but that's the kind of timescales that we're talking about. And every single day I ask myself, Lucy Davis, who are you at your core? And there are some days when I feel like I want to get angry or something. And I'm like, whoa, 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 that's not you. That's not you. You're kind, you're caring, you're loving. What has triggered you to go back to this emotional trauma response, this ego response? And that's how I get connected. Like, I speak to my ego as a third person, so that, or as a second person, but you know what I mean. I talk to her so that she knows that I know that she's there and that I can feel her and I can see her. But you know what? She's not in charge. The ego is something that is part of our body, but we focus on that as being the whole body. Let me explain it. If you get triggered, I'm trying to do a different video on ego, guys. I hope this is going in. Let me know in the comments if this is actually going in, because I'm not really sure if I'm explaining this the best way, but I feel as if I've done so many videos that I kind of needed to explain it in a tiny little bit different. So obviously the ego is inside of us because, you know, we can see, we can feel, we can hear, we have the reactions and all the rest of it, right? So let's say you get angry. And what you realize when you get angry is that your stomach gets this like gut crunching thing and your body gets a bit hot. And all of a sudden you become very reactive. You start going 0 to 60. You start calling people names and things like that. You truly believe that that reaction that comes up, that feeling that you get and that angry bit, you focus on that being like the bit that we have to hide from people because that's just not appropriate and it's not right. However, when we suppress it, it becomes worse because it is a part of us. The thing is, we can't see it. So it's even more annoying. It's even more of a trigger to us. This thing that tells us that we're not good enough, this thing that tells us we have to fight for survival, this thing that tells us that person's going to leave you, that person's out to get you, that person's out to hurt you. We can't even see it, but we give it our all. We focus so intently on this. So why? Because that's not you. It's the story which created that bit that is you. I say this all the time, but I've said it a lot recently. I do not believe anybody comes into the world evil. I just don't. I believe we learn these things. We have been convinced we need to be all things to all people. We've been told like we need to be the most spontaneous person, but just do it in this way. When our loved ones tell us, listen, pay attention, that's when we step into the, oh, okay, they're telling us who we want us to be now. And that's when our ego like either brings up a response to protect ourselves or it will shrink you. Just remember what they said last time. You've got to listen. You've got to pay attention. And in those moments, what we do is we hear this and then we hold our breath. So our nervous system goes crazy. Our adrenals just start rattling. We hold our stomach and it's all panic. And then we hold ourselves together. And that becomes our new mantra. I must hold myself together. I can't let people see me cry. I must hold myself together. And all you are doing is perpetuating the feeling of the ego. It's very important that we recognize the way that the ego works with our body. When you go in to figure out where this first response came from, and then you go back further and you notice actually this has been ingrained in you since birth, pretty much. At that point, you can start to befriend your ego. Now, I do not agree with the ego death. I don't. I do not believe that you need to kill any part of you. What I believe you need to do is figure out what started it and then look at how we work with it. So I used to be very angry. I used to be really, really, really angry. Now I don't get angry at all because actually I know that that anger is just little Lucy fighting for survival. So I don't need to get angry anymore. Sometimes when I'm putting boundaries in place with people and I say, hey, this is my standard, even though I'm very calm and I'm very peaceful, they assume I'm being angry. And I'm not. I don't need to raise my voice. I'm actually quite calm because I get it. I get when that feeling comes up in my body. That's not me. That's not the real raw Lucy. That's the version of Lucy that had all of the trauma, that had all of the abandonment, that had all of the issues. So I go, wow, okay, I'm just going to sit and breathe for a moment. And sometimes I say to people, can I come back to you in a couple of days? Just need to process this a little bit. And that triggers people in itself. But I am so aware of myself now that that's what I do. When we do nasty things to people or people do nasty things to us, when you blame it on somebody else, that's your ego. When you're angry, sad, upset, full of resentment, if you have never noticed this, in fact, I'm going to ask you to recognize this now. When does your ego pipe up? It's only when you feel under threat. When you feel under threat, that is a low vibration. It's anger, it's resentment, it's hurt, it's sadness, it's those kind of things, shame and guilt and all the rest of it. Let me tell you straight, if you are in a space of love or in a space of authenticity, you can't feel that. You can't feel your ego. Your ego only shows up when you are in and around lower vibrations. So we have to recognize that when we're trying to defend, when we're shouting, when we're, desperate to get our point across and blame somebody else, It's because of your ego. The only time your ego can show up is when you are in a low vibration. Now, some people will be watching this and be like, well, yeah, well, I don't have any ego issues, Lucy, because I'm never in a low vibration. I'm super high vibration and I'm really this and I'm really that. And that's called delusion. It's like we are two people. We have a good part of us, which we're proud to show off. And then we have an unconscious part of us, which are what we perceive to be all of the bad parts. Now, without the integration of them both, we cannot be complete or whole. Sit with that for a moment. How can you be whole if you're trying to kill a piece of you? Which is why I don't align with the ego death. We convince ourselves not to do things because we may not meet the expectations that we've placed on ourselves. I was talking about this in Self Love Club last night. I actually said, like, how many of you, you think that you're really good at something, and then you're like, somebody invites you to go along and just enhance that, and you're like, oh, no, 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 I won't do that, because you're worried that you're not going to be as good. You're worried that you're actually not going to be the best anymore. So you'd rather, take a step back and bow out of doing these things because the ego wants you to feel that you are the best. My next statement may trigger a few people, but this is why a lot of people read books and do not actually go in and do personal development. Because when they're around other people, and we've had the new intake of Self Love Club for a month, right? On last night's call, I said to everybody on the call, how many of you are starting to recognize how delusional you are? Because there's now a group of people and they can see where each other is at. All of a sudden, these people that think that they're, queen bee are recognizing that they don't have their shit together at all. And that's not from an ego standpoint or a competitive standpoint, it's just fact. So many people read books and believe that they are a guru. But when they sit in the same room, cross-legged or at their desk or whatever, they very quickly realize, oh, all these little triggers, all these little things that I do, the fact that I have to, seek attention, the fact that I'm not comfortable in my own space, the fact that, I have to constantly be in front of people or whatever. It's okay to be average, because when you're average or when you're in a group of people that are far better than you, there is something to aspire to. I'm doing this in business at the moment. I'm surrounded by an amazing, amazing group of people. Like, I literally have found the best people whilst being in Australia to hold me accountable where my business is concerned. And like, they are far better than me in every sense, in business sense, in every sense, much more financially abundant and stuff. Is that stopping me going there? Absolutely not. To them, I am like mediocre. So normally we would make an excuse not to do that. None of us want to be shown that we're less than what we are. However, for me, I have to do this. And I've done it many, many, many times over because I know I deserve the things that these people have. I don't mean things, by the way. You know what I mean. My passion project, Soul School. That's what I'm talking about. If you can integrate your shadow side, you will become the master rather than just live in the potential of becoming the actual master. So many people are out there, oh, this is it, this is it, this is da 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 da, but they're not willing to walk their talk. They've just got an opinion. A really good example of this is like anybody that has never fought a fight, right? When you're a boxer, when you're an MMA fighter, and or whatever it is, a TIE fighter, whatever, and you get in that ring, like there are so many people sat around the outside giving, oh, he should have done this and he should have done that. Guys, until you get in that room, you do in that ring, you don't have a freaking clue what goes on. You don't know what it's like to have to regulate your emotions or anything like that. Yet there are so many people out there that give their opinions. This is a really good analogy of what I'm talking about here. So many people are sat on the outside poking and joking and poking the bear and that, but they're not willing to get in the arena. And to those people watching, you basically live in a fantasy. You're living in a fantasy, thinking that books and thinking that by you just doing this on your own is actually going to get you the reality of it. When we lean in and we embrace who we truly are, that's the time when we can reach our full potential and we can integrate using the ego for our benefit. We are sacred. And when we suppress bits of us, like the scared bits of us, the bits that we're not willing to see, the bits that we're pretending don't exist, we reject our full potential. Why do you think I decided many years ago that I was going to be real and raw? Like when I fuck up, excuse my French, but when I do, I'm open about it. I don't pretend that it didn't happen. I'm open about it. Why? Because if I can be real and I can be raw, then I'm putting myself in the stadium to get the greatest potential and actually embody it and live my truth. And it's scary. Some of the things that I am being asked to do, some of the challenges that are being set for me business-wise, scare the heck out of me. But it's nothing that I haven't dreamt of. It's nothing that I haven't seen in visions. It's nothing that every single psychic, medium, whatever, have told me over the years. So it's go time. Does my ego tell me nobody's going to want this? Absolutely. Does my ego say other people are better than you? Absolutely. But I tell her to pipe down. Because whether she likes it or not, I'm going all in. You know what? If I fail, I fail. I'll get up and I'll go again. The ego is such a magical beast. It really is a magical beast. Be very aware as to how you are using the word. Be very aware that there is this thing inside of you, which is a construct of stories. It's like a link, like a DNA strand of stories. And everything that has impacted you and hurt you and all the rest of it for your whole life is in those strands. And depending on, whether people ignore you or whether people criticize you or whatever, your triggers come up premised off of what you have done. And this is the ego looking to keep you safe. If I react like this again, I will be safe. If I don't communicate what's upset me, then nobody can have a go at me. Or you could actually lose somebody that you care about. But if you really cared about somebody, would you keep it to yourself or would you just speak up? I hope this has given you a helping hand. We are in a massive period of time in October, or we're going into a massive period of time that is going to be very much about ego, bringing the healing up for the surface. We are being challenged massively in relationships. There's such an exciting topic of relationships at the moment. So please lean into this. Please really grasp it. Let me know in the comments if this kind of makes a little bit of sense. Maybe it's giving you a different perspective. Maybe it's giving you a different way to look at it, a much more gentle way of looking at it. I don't know, but I really, really, really would love your feedback. Don't forget, we are going into a very powerful period of time. I have put out the October energy update and the new moon eclipse in the last couple of days as well. So please do go and check those out. And ladies and gents, do remember, I'm doing a men's meditation on the 3rd of October, absolutely free. We're doing it on Zoom. I'm going to be in a very special country doing this, and it is going to be extremely powerful for the men. And then I've got the other meditation on the 10th of October. So I hope to see some of you there. I'm going to love you and leave you because I've got to get on another plane in a few hours after I've run a call. So I'm going to love you and leave you, and I will catch you on the flip side, ladies and gents. It's good to be back with you for Lucy Davis Live at 5. Ciao, ciao for now, guys. Take care.